took breakfast soup. They get the most American
It should work.
What do you eat? Oh, I really like it.
It's nice, but it's just
It's not a breakfast.
no. And I was like, okay, I'm very talking and I think that now that I can go.
I mean, it's too much more for London.
No, it is, but it's not.
Oh my god.
Great for social.
I don't like them.
I love them.
I like the traditional with the sugar. And they have a mini version, like mini waffles and hobby. It's like a pack of like 12, but they're like mini, so you don't feel so guilty because you're eating a mini waffle.
All right, so everybody is set. Welcome, welcome to our fourth iteration of Figma 101, and welcome to trial interns. Hopefully you're gonna really enjoy it. And yeah, it's the last one before Christmas break. So yeah, let's get into it. And it's about how to hand off to developers, finally. Something for developers. So today we're gonna talk about preparation before handoff. So what we need to do to ensure smooth transition to actually handoff. What is dev mode, the new spicy feature in Figma, and also what happens on the final day of delivery and after. Oh, and also I shared, of course, the link in the channel. So for people that don't know, it's in the events tab on the Teams, and it's the Figma workshop part 4, how to hand off to developers. This link to the file that we'll be working on today. So you can go there. And if you're there, you will be able to choose your board. So there's 12 boards. If there's more people, we can make more. But overall, we have 12. You can choose your own. The blue slides are your exercises that are also blue on my slides. So then we do it together, and I check with you if you got it, ask questions, and we learn together like that. So is everything clear? Rules as usual? Perfect. And yeah, you can name your board. All right. So preparation before handoff. So before handoff, of course, at this stage we probably have some design system, brand book, quite a few components. But before we hand off, we need to make sure this is consistent. So usually we communicate it to our peers, to developers, that this is final version of the components for now. So be it the file, the page on the file that it's for development only, you say those are the versions you can develop, or you can announce it on Slack or Teams as well if it's bigger company, of course. And onboard them so they know what they need to do and the specifications. And of course, when we share with developers or as well also with the client, we need to know what specifics permission hierarchy works. So what they can see, what they can't see, because this is actually crucial when it comes to our dev mode later on. And the logic that Figma works is different, which is weird, but this is how it is. For example, if we are the editors, but someone is just view only, for them, when they click some element, they go straight into the deepest level instead of the overview of the components. So usually when we click, it's just rows, but then they go straight into just text. And this is because when you view, you want to view specific things and see like, oh, this is like that for developers. Of course, this is also the old version because it's inspect, but it's also a nice picture to see how it used to look like before we got dev mode. and it wasn't really clear. So that this confusion may prohibit the viewers from understanding something. But that's good to keep it in mind.
Yeah, I think that to add on it, also a tip is to test the link in incognito mode.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people need to log in, and sometimes people don't. And if you press play, it's different than sharing the link. Are you going to explain that?
Yeah, because when you press play, sometimes it only shows the ones that were selected to be shown.
Yeah.
So that's also the things we need to keep in mind when we share things. So double check, test with yourself, and your colleagues before you share to the client, or yeah.
And also in the browser where you did not log in.
Yeah.
Because the client did not link.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, there's a lot of problems with this. But yeah, coming back to the first onboarding, so also naming the layers. We all are culprit of not doing that, so we can have like image 2004 or something like that. And you know, sometimes it's okay, but really for like the big contents, we need to know like, okay, so this is a component, this is the row, this is the icon, so it's easy for them to know. Also, it comes in handy the dev mode because it all automatically sorts this out for us. So yeah, so definitely need to keep in mind that. And now to the exercise number 1. So the annotations, and we're gonna learn new plugin, which you have here. So on your board in this blue slide, you can click this link on your board, not here, on your board. You can click it also here, of course, too. And then you can install the plugin that annotates the designs for you. And we're gonna see how it works on the example here. So let's go here. And let's
open it and then replay it.
Yeah, so if you open the plugin and then you say open in, because it's, but you can do it the other way around. You can also you have those funny icons here. You can click that on your screen, then go to the plugins and search 8 shapes plugin, and then when you click it, it will run in the space. So also for looking for plugins, you can just do it here and you don't have to go to community. And when we are here, yes, I'm gonna give you a minute to get there. But when we're here, for example, we have this component of the input, and we want to annotate it so that more or less it shows the width, the height, the spacing between components, so the developers know what they need to do. We just click create a specs, and then it's gonna create a specs for us that usually we'll need to do manually, and it takes a long time. Also, warning, it's gonna be huge, so expect like a huge chunk of to appear. That's why I also made your boards a little bit bigger, and I don't know where it appeared on my screen, but it probably, where did it appear? Oh yeah, it's here. Yeah, so it's huge, and it basically lists the autonomy, so the width, the height, what state it is, etc. It's a lot. It's big, and yeah, they're gonna stack here. So, but it also varies depending on the component. It shows you the initial state, hover state. It's nice. Maybe a little bit too complicated. That's why it took so much effort before dev mode to do this and also do inspect, because now in dev mode you basically have all of those similar things, yet this is nice for just documentation of the components. So yeah, and I see gazillion of those things, so it's good. So it's a nice tip for sure. Okay. So yes, now we're going to the downloading of the assets. So as we know, we can download assets on the asset downloader, but not only. So now that we're on the exercise 2, we can go finally to dev mode. And then in the dev mode, I'm gonna take my face out of here. So when we in the dev mode, for example, this image, when we click it, we can already download this from assets, and it's really nice. So you don't have to dig down in the component to know if it actually is image or where is it. It just shows up, and also you can download it in various formats. As well, Figma supports video, which we have in the second one here, and you have video here, which you can download as well as MP4. So that's nice. Of course, the video doesn't show up here because we don't have the premium plan, but yeah, you can also use videos. So yeah, so for asset management, it's really good. The next one is commenting, and actually now leaving dev mode for a minute. Commenting is huge. We always do it every single day. But sometimes we miss, like, how can we make it more clear? How can we structure our messaging? So not many people know, and I also didn't know that for a long time, that actually you can a little bit tweak the comments. So you can make them bolder, you can make them italicized. You can also make a number list. So here, everybody on their files have this text styling comment, and so we can add a text comment. Also, like, change this, and then when we bold it, so we're gonna add those 2 asterisks here and there, and we're gonna add the comment. It should be bold, at least, because it's using the syntax. But also there's a shortcut, Command B. Wait, I think this should work. No? Oh yeah, I think this one is now thick. Yeah, this is thick. Yeah, it's not really visible, but it's a little bit thicker. Of course, yeah. So you can do it. Again, it's choppy. Probably would prefer something better, but learn those instructions. This can be really useful to add a little bit structure to your comments. Above all, so it's clearer for the dev team and as well for your client to know which exactly. So that's also not what we usually know. But now to the meat. We're gonna go to dev mode. So finally, dev mode. So what's up with dev mode? So in dev mode, of course, we go using this huge, not huge, but the switch for the dev mode. And then everything turns green, and it's different because it's for development, and it shows you valid things for that reason. So if we go to the next slide, the exercise left panel. So what we can do on the left panel. On the left panel, we see basically all the pages and layers, which on normal we don't have assets. So assets are usually here, but when we are in dev mode, they disappear, and we only left with the layers, which show more pronounced components in all the different parts. As well, when we, for example, select one element, but because we now selected only in this, but when we overall unclick one element, because right now we clicked on the slide, so we see just slide. But when I click it, we have the whole view, everything around. And when we want to, we can travel to certain file just like that. So it teleports you. And also when you hover over something, it exactly does what we did with annotations, but live shows like, oh, here's the margin of 108. And also there is a padding of this and that. And that's really useful for the developer that just wants to see like, oh, okay, so this is how I should just position it. And yeah, and we can also mark our board as ready for that. And then it shows up already here. So whatever we marked is going to be easy accessible for developers and also for us. Yeah, exactly. You can select multiple at once, and then they showed up. And that's easy to know what's done, what's not. And we can also select the whole pages as well. So that's nice. Okay. So that's the left panel. But
Question, how do you toggle ready for dev?
yeah, so the ready for dev, you toggle, so you can toggle right from the top, but as well, you should be able to toggle it when you select a board. So for example, I'm gonna go to this unknown board, and when you click on the board, there's this icon mark ready for dev, and then the whole board is ready for dev, and everything that's in it is ready for dev.
The board is something different than a canvas.
Yeah, so the board is something different than just frame, because board you can make when you select usual frame here on the top, and select section. So it's a section actually. Professionally naming this, it's a section. I would advise using sections because it structures your file, and also it's easy to select multiple instances at once that they're ready for that. So yeah, so that's when you can use that. And the next one is the right panel, which on the right, when we have a component that was changed, unfortunately we can't recreate it here, but if a component is changed, you can see the history, who changed it, and side-by-side comparison, just like with the Figma file history. Here we can have the history of the component itself, which is nice when we want to see who changed it and why certain things changed. It's really good because sometimes some things change and you don't know why, you don't know what really changed. So this is good to track changes over time. And yes, so but coming back to the dev mode, and maybe let's focus on the example. So I put on everybody's board a dev mode example, which is, I think, the best here to put it into practice. So we have this card with that shows your gains, probably monetary gains from the last week with a pie chart, and it's quite a complex component. So what we have on the right? On the right, we have preview of the component, as well as the properties, and we can open it in Playground. And what it essentially does, it makes a pop-up that shows you all the properties that we learned before, and we can play around with them. We can change the what's the kind of this pie chart, if it needs header or it doesn't. So here we can experiment as developer and see, okay, so those are the states that we can have applied here, and various ways this component designer wanted to play out. Apart from that, we have, of course, different languages that we can see this component reflected in. So if we switch to Swift UI for iOS development, then we have a little bit different way of structuring this component, and as well as padding and border.
Does everybody know how to do the create headers and tables and toggle them? The different, so you have like a component with different states. So here you have donut, half, and pie. You go to Playground, go to type.
Yeah, so
where is this? Where does this exist?
So those are your properties of your master component. They're not here, of course, but if you had design system and went to this component, then you can follow up on those on the sub components.
Can you show me where that is?
So, well, then I have to open a different file, but essentially,
Too much work.
no, it's okay, because this is supposed to only like show you the various states. So it's like a component preview. This is not really yeah, it's not part of the it's just to envision for.
Everybody knows and don't show it.
I mean, if anybody else confused about it, surely I can show it as well. I mean, here's pretty advanced design system. But for example, if the pie chart, and here we have our pie chart that I took it from. And yeah, those are the booleans that we learned on previous ones. So we have components, essentially in components, and different types that we set. So they live essentially here, and we have whole collection for different types that we make it together. So yeah, but that's not really what is dev mode. Dev mode is just to preview a certain properties, so it's easier to know what mechanics and logics should developer use. As well as they can also add dev resources. So if they have certain GitHub links or repos that are necessary for this, they can add it on the component itself, and they're gonna stay here, which is also cool. And for us designers, we can see also how logical, like what the logic of the flexbox, because that's usually the main structure of the web. And also flexbox is essentially auto layout, because you can align them left and right, stretch them so they fill the container. So I also put it on your board. It's nice to understand it as designer. So then you know that what you do is actually what is gonna be coded if you design for web, of course. So that's nice. And yeah, and also you can see colors. So that's what we talked also in previous one about structuring colors, because then they're gonna be shown here in plain language, and also it's easy then to code and use variables and assets. So here we have the assets of this component, which are the icons, which are the badges and the pie charts, all linking together. So it's easy to find what consists mainly this component of. And now coming back to, yeah, so of course on the right panel, apart from the code, we have also units. So we can change the units, and it's especially useful again for web. When we change the units, for example, to RAM, then the scaling on the website is completely different. It's also nice because very often developers had to translate and recalculate pixels to RAM or other.
What do developers prefer?
They use pixels.
Yeah, because also the points is more for graphic design. I use on my website RAM. It's nice for fluid design, but I think in bigger development, its pixels are also the way. It depends on the context, but that's why it's nice to have it here. Because
one is static, it's like it derived from one RAM. It's like, what does it stand for? It's like a flexible font size.
Yeah, it's actually, I don't know the definition, but it does scale based on the, I think, the width of the window. And also we have different, like VH is based on the height of the, and then
you have one base font, and from there you calculate everything.
Yeah, so it like fluidly calculates, but then sometimes it's heavy on the performance of the website. So that's why there's no golden rule for that. But pixels, of course, are the way to go as well. And also we have resources. So we can, as I mentioned before, add links. Also for us, we can add to Notion or other pages. And we have also plugins for variables. So we didn't touch variables yet, but if we had variables set up, we could easily translate them into the variables for different languages. And that's really handy. And yeah. So that's what I showed you, exactly this exercise of seeing different statuses. So you don't really see the components, but you can see the statuses when you develop the component. So now that we understood more or less the dev mode, which is good for previewing the height, the length, sizes, colors, and the padding and the borders, we can see what happens after when we're doing the delivery. And it's an actually interesting framework I found about that is the framework from a company, Lyft, that they do offer the services like Uber. When they structure the complex components and systems into like an easy tree of yes and no. So if developer is supposed to develop and select, so what happens if you have a option that the user has to select more than one? Then if it's yes, then we go to multi-select, and we have to choose, is the multi-select a toggle button or checkbox? So in that way, if we have documentation like that, at least in their case, this decision tree helps them to decrease the communication, and it's easier to have clarity in the team. What should we use when? Because usually when we are communicating with developers, when we all communicate, is like when we should use what, why this toggle button is different than the other. It's all a mess. Also, there's a link to the case study explaining this in detail, how it works and why it works. It's really nice. And I think at least using something like that for communication and certain scenarios, it improves overall clarity.
Can you zoom in?
Yes. So it's something like that. So when you have more than one, you can go like this. If no, so it's smooth flow for the users.
And for developers or designers?
It's for developers mostly, so we can teach how set elements are used, because they're not always super present in the process, and in that way they know what exactly when needs to happen. So this is really interesting approach. And yeah, the checklist. So again, we can have a checklist. So there are certain websites, and you can click them, of course, and look at them, like the ones that tell you like, oh, but did you really check if you have all you need for the Handoff? And also there are plugins that check if you have consistency in fonts. If, for example, I'm going to go into one of those pages. So they tell you like, oh, did you check? So if you're designing, for example, a card, and then you can go in detail, for example, for a badge, they have a checklist for that. Like, did you have the details, like basic shapes, to apply the color and the offset, and also you have documentation in the existing design system that uses this. So this is a nice website to see when you're designing element, and also when you're handing this off for development, because then you know, like, maybe you're missing some logic with it. So that's really nice to check. But in live example with a plugin, we have a design lint plugin, which I'm going to open from here. Yeah, so for example, we have this plugin that shows you layers, library, and styles. And for whatever you have selected, it will show you what errors you have. So you can, it says that we have 3 errors. And what is it? Oh, it's missing fill style. And we wouldn't know that there is missing fill style that is not assigned any particular style there. And then we can go next. And then it will show you it's missing text style. So it's overall garbage. because it's not connected to design system. So again, it's really nice that to catch the errors. And of course, we can make a overall scan of the whole file or fix it all automatically, though it's not always working as we want it to. And it also has suggestions, so it's sort of like, oh, is this color the same like this one from New Designer's design system? So again, it's really nice that it suggests you and it can also fix it for you. So it's like a little AI, your companion to say like, oh, you omitted that.
A plugin?
It's a plugin, yes.
So you're selling your data.
No, it's a plugin. Yeah, it just works in Figma, and the only thing you're selling is electricity. So.
Are you sure about that? Because they're scanning your file, so.
No, but this is using just the code to determine if this font is connected with that. So.
Yeah, but isn't it like you're sharing your file, right, with the plugin?
No, but the plugin creator doesn't. I mean, I don't know fully, but
I would check.
Yeah,
I mean,
you could check, but sometimes you have to log into for certain plugins, and you have premium features. But for that, I think it's just checking if this text is here, then change that.
You trust them?
Yeah, but it's not like AI. It's more just logic based. They just call it AI because now it's cool. But overall, I would say this is just checking if this is that, maybe this is better. So it's just checker. But there are AI Figma plugins, of course, too. And yeah, we always have to be conscious about the data and everything we share. And we have checklist widgets, overall Figma widgets. They are cool. We already had one example on the first workshop with the progress widget. And there's not a lot of widgets in Figma, but you can check out this. This is more for like structuring to-dos. So this is basic like a live component. You can add whatever here you want. And this is like you designed it in Figma, but it's like itself an app inside of Figma. So so yeah, I mean, you can have a dark mode, white mode, and whatever colors you can change. And yeah, you don't have to so how we do even get there? Well, again, in this magic button, we can Google for checklist. It should, oh, it's in widgets, yeah. So you Google for checklist, because overall widgets aren't plugins. Those are like widgets on iPhone or MacBook or iPad, mini versions of apps. So some of those are connected with apps like Slack or Jira. But in this case, it's also there's links, so don't you worry if you can't find it. And yeah, I have checklists, so you can just have one page where you put the tasks and you can make headers, etc. And it's easy for project managers, but as well for development handoff, what we need to do, what questions do we have. So this is also nice for that. And yeah, and that's kind of wrapping this up. Today we learned that how we structure our files, and I'll close it. How we structure our files is important before handoff. So at the very end, when we are about to hand off, we should think how we name layers, how we structure our design systems and brand books, so it's easy to pick the assets we have. Important to check permissions and how they look when we share them, as well as, with the documentation after delivery, what if then, and we can use all the tools and the widgets and the plugins we already have for that use case. So I hope it really helped you. The dev mode is super simple. You can also, I'm gonna share some resources. You can read more about it. And yeah, and that's dev mode. Not much to it, but it's really, really nice tool nowadays.
So Figma for Virtual Studio Code. Is that something you work with? Or?
Yeah, so there is this plugin for Visual Code Studio that basically previews the components you have in Figma. I didn't use it. I've seen it. My friends use this sometimes. Maybe some of the developers here used it. Jonathan, did you use it? The for VS Studio, the yeah. So maybe it's not that common yet.
Should they use it?
I would say try it out, but if developers don't use it now, it's probably not a huge necessity, because I've seen Jonathan using dev mode in Figma, but without needing to use it also.
Not a big difference.
Yeah, but definitely helps you to have some assets already there. So, and it's still in beta, so there's a lot to be improved.
And we have more than one status in the design, like getting it approved by the product owner, and then say it's ready for dev. How would you go about it if you have like 3 phases? So you have like concept, waiting for approval from a product owner, and then ready for dev.
Yeah, I mean, if product owner approves it and we have common understanding with the manager that it's ready for dev mode, then we can already do that, I think.
You would say you just have to.
Yeah, I think the ready for dev mode is already when we get approval from the team
But you
manager.
never go back.
I mean, then it's the second version, so then we say, okay, those improvements were made.
How would you go about the second version? Would you put it in the same file, start a new file, or where do you put the archive and stuff?
So, for example, when you have a dev file, like for my project, the Hague network, we have a board with the final version.
Can you show us?
Yeah, so of course.
Final is difficult, yeah, because sometimes.
Yeah, it's never
like
final. So it's never final. Final. So yeah, I have a very beautifully structured file, and yeah, we have development. We have
zoom in or not?
no, it's not difficult. So for example, here we have selected ready for dev, and Jonathan was basically using dev mode for that to see the assets, the sizing, and how it should be structured.
And if you go back, so what are your layers on the left side? If you go to the design mode, you zoom in there.
I mean, I can't zoom in the layers.
Apple plus, like Command plus.
No, because this is gonna zoom my file.
What does it say?
So it's here. It says development.
Okay.
So the page is development. We have another one for designs and wireframes apart. So then they don't get mixed, and they still did. So, so I wouldn't say there's any glorious system for that, but I'm still proud of the overall structure, how we got there.
And Jonathan, did you like the way of working like this? Yeah. What did you like of it?
It's very clear. I don't get to make something that isn't ready yet.
Where do you look at? You just see like the green thing and it, okay, I'm gonna build it as green.
Yeah. Sometimes it could be green or not finished, but
Now you discovered it later. Stuff in there.
It can be like ready for development, and then you have feedback.
Yeah.
So, that's dangerous, right?
Yeah. So we always have to like catch up, just like we did in the morning today. So, but it's handy as the concept, I think. So it gives the certainty for developer that this is done.
But you have one version here, right?
No, I mean this is a November version, and I think this was like older version. And some developer notes, so that's what Yvette also
that's
put.
also handy,
Yeah, that's also handy. So I know.
But now with the new plugin.
Yeah, so it's gonna be even more sexy now.
Exactly.
So, so we are pushing the boundaries here. So yeah. So that's the real world example. So yeah. Any more questions?
Do you have any specific tips when you're making like the artwork? For example, you're on the page, about page, to structure it to be better for development-wise when they're checking in that mode. So you always make it into new groups, or you always like? Because I know there is the content one that we always keep.
Yeah.
But are there any other?
I think already this one is really good, because what I like and why Jonathan likes it is we have one big board. For example, this is the final 2 from November, and then we have sub boards that are desktop, mobile for only homepage. So then it's easy to have like those 2 breakpoints, and and also and then it's ready for dev. And I think that's really great way to structure that.
Putting them together.
Yeah, and also probably with this like plugin with checklist that the product manager like Yvette can put the notes for here is another level, definitely. And actually, I'm gonna put the checklist here, so so you can use it already. So
The question is just do what works best.
yeah, especially like with everything that we learned through the course of the whole series, do what works best for you and your team. If it helps you to communicate better and have clear goals, then this is the way. All of this, the whole structure was made on the go, on the fly. Very still proud of the structure. Also, we learned for the workshops, also that's how it shows. But apart from that, it was on the go. Like we started with empty canvas and it formed as we went. Though probably it wouldn't form like that if we didn't have knowledge that we want to have it structured clearly and have sub pages. So still, but you just go and you do. Yeah. So thank you.
Was this the last workshop?
We exactly. As per usual, we have feedback form. Hey, so click the hell out of this. And yeah, it's when so probably somewhere mid-January or something.
Next topic.
Yeah, we don't have any predefined topics this time around, so you're free. Yeah, because now you used up all the options.
Maybe those old options we can.
But there was,
Yeah,
I
you
saved
remember
them.
no?
I don't remember. I was voting for something else.
I think the one was components which stayed from the previous one. Then was dev and variables, and also I in the form I put. Oh, there was maybe prototyping. True.
Just add it.
Yeah, but you can write it your own one. One idea was variables, so yeah, so it could be variables. It connects to dev mode and design systems that we already talked about. But it could be anything you struggle with. Above all, something that you struggle with, you would like to learn, so we don't have to limit ourselves. So yeah.